You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. Well, it has been a productive week for LSU football. The defense was historically bad this year. Brian Kelly and his staff obviously had to go address that for both this coming season and beyond, and they've taken steps in doing that. Earlier this week, Sean Washington committed, the JUCO defensive lineman from Warren Easton in New Orleans who went to Georgia and then East Mississippi Community College, a literally big commitment, a guy that could play nose or three technique on the defensive line. And they've also looked ahead in nabbing two more prospects. One that we had waited on and anticipated for a while, the shoe dropped on Thursday night. Kelen Moses from right here in Baton Rouge, U-High, of course, the younger brother of Dylan Moses, who broke LSU fans' hearts years ago, and he's appeared to be an LSU lock, and ultimately, when Les Miles got fired, ended up going to Alabama. But Kelen Moses decided he's staying home and made the announcement on Thursday night at a ceremony out at U-High. And for many reasons, this is just massively significant. First of all, we saw the issues that LSU had at linebacker this year. Let's call it what it is. You brought in Omar Spates, didn't work out so great. You moved Harold Perkins inside. After one game, you realized that wasn't going to be a fit. Greg Penn was one of the top 10 tacklers in the SEC. Is he, and he's a thumper, but is he really a three-down linebacker? You just didn't. And look, you got some depth that you've recruited there. You love Whit Weeks. Christian Braithwaite signed a year ago and could have some potential there. You've still got West Weeks hanging around as well. So you've got some numbers and some depth, but that's a position where clearly you got to get better. And Kelen Moses is one of the best in the country. Remember, he's a high school junior. So he's finishing his junior season right now. So he's a class of 2025 player. And when you look at the recruiting profile for Kelen Moses, I mean, it came down to LSU in Florida. He had offers from everybody. He's a four-star. He's a top 200 player in the country. He's the number 3 player in Louisiana for the class of 2025. And you better believe that as he finishes this season and goes through his senior year, that number is only going to continue to climb from everyone who's seen him play from the time that he was in junior high. And because of his last name, we've all seen him play since he was in junior high. There's a few very important things here. One, most obviously, is this is a kid in your backyard. This is a kid in Baton Rouge who's a national recruit, and you're getting him to stay home. I mean, you missed out on his brother. So that's first and foremost. You want to put the fence around the state. You want to keep the best players in Louisiana home. Well, LSU is doing that here with Kelen Moses. The other part of it, obviously, is you've got to be able to continue to fortify this defense with great players. That's really been a theme this week as we've talked about the future of this LSU defense, is you've got to get dudes again. The transfer portal is fine, and yes, you're going to get some good players out of the portal, but mostly what Brian Kelly and previous under Brian Polian were doing were recruiting players that were the kind of players that he'd recruit to Notre Dame, with casting a national net to get a different type of player. When, as I've said, you could throw a rock and hit a 3-star cornerback from LSU's campus. Or in this case, a top 200 player in the country and one of the best linebackers in the country. Now you get Kelen Moses on board for the class of 2025. And when Kelen Moses committed, maybe the most important thing he said was that he was going to become LSU's best recruiter, to make sure that LSU had the best class in the country for 2025. And when you start to look at it, how it's playing out already, LSU's 4th right now for the class of 2025. Now, they've got 6 commitments, and it's early. I mean, the 2024 class hasn't even signed yet, so it seems premature to talk 2025. But in recruiting, you've got to be ahead of the cycle. DeCorian Moore, who's a 5-star out of Duncanville, is already committed. Kelen Moses now becomes the 2nd highest-rated player in this class. J.D. LaFleur, who is tight end out of Sulphur, of course, a legacy. His dad was David LaFleur, former first-round draft pick of the Cowboys. Brett Bordelon out of New Orleans, who, of course, is a legacy. His brother's on the team right now. His dad played. Teron Francis out of Edna Carr in New Orleans. And Jalen Bell out of Grayson, which is a Loganville, Georgia, which is a football factory. So you've already started to build a really good class for 2025, and Kelen Moses is a huge part of it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.